So this is part 2 of my story. And where I left off was my uncle, he had came to help me. I was in this corner, like I was in the corner, and I'm screaming and crying for help. Like, one of y'all come get me. Like, somebody help me. But don't nobody care. Ain't nobody trying to help me. Like I said, in a black family, they normalize abuse. They normalize sexual abuse. They normalize all of that, and verbal abuse and everything. And what ended up happening is basically my uncle came in the kitchen, was like, get your hands off of her. Y'all not about to keep sitting there, put your hands on her. And he told my grandma, which was his sister, like, how you allowing her to put her hands on her in front of you and you ain't gonna say nothing about it. But this is my grandma's older brother, so she didn't say nothing back. And then she ended up going like, get your hands off of her, quit touching her. But remind you, like I said, this is when my grandma started becoming really actively an alcohol drinker a lot. And then not only that, when I was like, I want to go back for a second, like my grandpa ended up getting sick to where, remind you, he was already like paralyzed in his left arm and his right leg, but that didn't stop him. Like, I love my granddaddy. My granddaddy was the ish. Do you hear me? He used to work on cars and trucks and all that. I used to go to like the junkyard and stuff with him after school because he used to pick me up. I used to think it was so embarrassing getting picked up in a pickup truck. But anyway, my grandfather was my dad and my grandfather were one of the key peoples that I really enjoyed being around. My grandfather got paralyzed. This was before my time. He ended up shooting himself in the head due to whatever happened between him and my grandma some years ago. So, like I said, he was paralyzed, but he was still moving around. He had his cane. He didn't care. He kept on moving. He was doing him. And it got to a point to where he wasn't able to help himself, take care of himself. And he fell down the stairs. Like, it was a lot of good things that happened, with my grandmother. Don't get me wrong. I had good times with my grandmother. I had bad times with my grandmother and my grandfather. Like, they got into it a lot, but it was like they was together for so long. You know what I mean? So relationships that's been together for so long, they tend to have their own problems, but they were able to work it out and do their own little thing. They was, my grandfather used to, because he was paralyzed, he could never work I think it was like Ohio BP or something like that, but he used to get like a disability check for that. And basically my grandma ended up having to get a job, and when she got a job, she was getting like a little check for me just because she was taking care of me or whatever. So she was trying to make ends meet, but it got real, real hard for her. So she started like drinking progressively, because we used to go to church and everything. Like, I can never forget. We used to go to church and all that. Like, hold on. I'm about to show y'all something. Hold on. This is me as a little kid. Okay. This was me at my grandmother's house as a baby. My grandmother, I deem my grandmother as my mother and my grandfather as my father. So this is my grandfather. He used to take care of me just as well as my grandmother did. So I'm gonna show y'all a picture of my grandma and my grandfather together. But I end up having to help my grandmother take care of my grandfather because, she needed help. The agreement was to help her take care of my grandfather. And I was like, this was me. I was around this age when I had to start helping my grandmother. My daughter looks just like me. I kid you not. Like, my daughter looks just like me. I had to start helping my grandmother with taking care of my grandfather. And it was very, very hard because I didn't get to go outside like all the other kids did. Like, sometimes I was on punishment for days. Like, I used to have to stay in the house. Like, when I used to say I used to have to stay in the house, like, I could not go outside. I never went outside. I never got to do things. Like, I almost didn't get to go on like certain trips. Like, I wanted to go to I wanted to start like doing certain things in the school, and because my grandma wanted to go outside more, y'all know what that is, because my grandma wanted to start going outside, you know, I had to stay in the house. And I had to come home from school. Like, my school was like right down the street from my house, so I used to walk back and forth to my school, you know. And the deal was, you get out at 2:50 and you come home. My grandma in summertime, she used to get out at she used to get off of work at 3:30, and in the wintertime she used to get off of work at 4:30. So I end up becoming friends with this female, and we end up kicking it all day long. Like, we end up kicking it. Like, when I say we end up kicking it, we was kicking it. She had things going on in her family, and I had things going on in my family. You know, basically we was kids, we was trauma bonding. And in between the mix of being with this guy that was abusive and being friends with the one girl and then being friends with another female, like, that was my little circle. I only had 2 friends at the time, but even they at the time wasn't good friends to me. You know what I mean? And I can be honest, I was in jealousy. I was in jealousy of 2 things, because these girls got to go to the mall and they used to get like, you know, it's not my business to tell people's business, but at the time, like, they was getting cash. You know what I mean? I was getting, you know what I mean? They was able to go to the mall and spend about $60 to $100, and all I had was $20. That was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing being able to go to the mall and only have $20 in my pocket, even though I didn't look at it like I'm grateful to even have $20. And on some days, I was just grateful to get out the house because I didn't have to stay in the house, because that's all I ever did was stay in the house. You know what I mean? So in all actuality, I was a lot grateful for that $20 than what people think. Okay, I might not have had no money. I was probably window shopping. I probably only bought one thing, but guess what? I was happy for that one little thing. You know what I mean? And it got to the point to where my grandma was like, since you complaining about the money that I got and what I give you, you get your own job. I don't got to give you nothing. So I end up basically getting a job. I was working at 12 and a half. I begged my grandma to get a job. She did not want me to get a job. No, I want my own money. I want my own money. I want to know what it felt like to have my own money. I want to know what it felt like to spend dollars on myself. I want to know what it felt like to feel good to do something for myself instead of asking people for money. So while my friends were getting money from their parents, I was getting money for me. I didn't have to ask nobody for money. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I ended up getting my own little money. And then when I started wanting to go out and spend my money, my grandma was like, oh, you about to have to start paying me because you getting money and da-da-da-da. I said, wait a minute, nah, you get a check for me. You get money, so why would you want more money out my pocket? And she like, that don't mean nothing. I only get a little bitty check for you. Da-da-da-da. We start arguing. And I'm like, how are you mad at me for having money in my pocket and you always only giving me $20? That's not fair to me that you only give me $20 and then when I get a job, now you want my money. Well, hey, by the way, I'm about to put out part 3. My life, my story. Follow me.